The tranquility of the night was abruptly disrupted by the screech of crumpling metal as Lara's spaceship hurtled through Earth's atmosphere. Flames danced across the hull, etching fiery trails in the sky before. The vessel crashed into the arid desert. With a thunderous impact, Lara groaned, her body throbbing from the collision, each breath a struggle as she fought to free herself from the harness binding her to the pilot seat. The cockpit was a chaotic mess of sparks and flickering lights, the control panels hissing their last breaths. With a desperate yank, Lara freed herself and stumbled to the ship's exit, collapsing onto the icy sand outside. The desert stretched out in an infinite expanse beneath the moon's soft glow. She glanced back at the wreckage, her heart sinking. She was alone, far from home, and stranded without a way back. Her communicator, she remembered, realizing the device was still attached to her suit. With shaking hands, she activated it, only to be met with static, her link to her people swallowed by the void. As dawn began to color the horizon with shades of orange and pink, Lara managed to stand, surveying the desolate terrain. "Where am I?" she murmured, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and wonder. Footsteps crunched on the sand behind her, and she spun around, instinctively taking a defensive stance. A figure emerged, tall and human, with eyes full of curiosity and caution. "Who are you?" asked Ryan, maintaining a safe distance. With his hand near the pistol at his belt, his instincts on high alert. "I mean no harm," Lara replied, her voice steady, thanks to the universal translator embedded in her suit. Ryan noticed the wreckage and then her alien features and slowly relaxed, removing his hand from his weapon. "You crashed? Need help?" he asked. Lara nodded, lowering her guard slightly. "Yes, my ship is destroyed. I'm stranded." "Ryan," he introduced himself simply, "this is Earth. You're safe here for now." He glanced at the sky, as if expecting a fleet to descend. "I'm Lara," she replied, managing a faint smile. Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, the unfamiliar world stretching before her. "Earth. I've read about it," she said. Ryan studied her for a moment, then gestured toward the east. "I have a place not far from here where you can rest and recover. We'll figure out your next steps in the morning." Relief mixed with exhaustion washed over Lara. "Thank you, Ryan," she said as they began walking, the first light of day casting long shadows on the sand. The desert's silence surrounded them, punctuated only by their footsteps and the distant call of a desert owl. Lara's thoughts whirled. Earth was not the sanctuary she had sought, but in this stranger, she found an unexpected glimmer of hope. As they walked, the first rays of sunlight warmed her face, and for the first time since the crash, she dared to believe she might survive. Ryan led the way through the shifting desert, his steps sure and steady. Lara followed closely, her eyes scanning the vast emptiness that enveloped them. The Earth's sun climbed higher, casting a warm golden light over the sand. It was beautiful yet so alien to her. "How did you end up here?" Ryan asked over his shoulder, breaking the silence. Lara hesitated, her memories of the war on her planet surfacing painfully. "I was fleeing a conflict. My world isn't safe anymore. I needed to escape, to find help." Ryan nodded, understanding more than he let on. "You're not the first alien visitor we've had, but you might be the first who didn't arrive with a fleet." A soft laugh escaped her, surprising even herself. "I guess that makes me unique." They arrived at a modest, isolated house just as the heat of the day began to intensify. The structure was simple, surrounded by a few hardy plants that thrived in the harsh conditions. "Here we are," Ryan announced, unlocking the door. "It's not much, but it's safe." The inside was Spartan but clean. Lara glanced around, noting the minimalistic setup with a few personal touches. A photo here, a well-used book there. "Thank you, Ryan," she said softly with gratitude. She paused, then added, "If there's anything I can do to—" "We'll sort it out later," Ryan interrupted, noticing her exhaustion. First, you rest. He showed her to a small room with a window framing the endless desert. I'll be around if you need anything. As he left, Lara sank onto the bed, its softness alien to her weary body. Thoughts of her home, the war, and what the future might hold on this strange new planet swirled in her mind. Sleep, however, claimed her before she could unravel them. Hours later, Lara awoke to the smell of something unfamiliar cooking. She followed the scent to the kitchen, where Ryan was stirring something in a pot. "Feeling better?" he asked, without looking up. "Yes, thank you," she replied, taking a seat at the table. "What is that?" "Stew. Earth food. You might like it," he said, bringing over 2 bowls. They ate in silence, the simplicity of the meal contrasting sharply with her complex situation. After eating, Ryan leaned back, his expression becoming serious. "Lara, if you're going to stay on Earth, even for a little while, there are things you need to understand about us and how things work here." Lara listened intently as Ryan explained Earth's geopolitical landscape, the existence of other aliens, and the delicate balance of power. It was a lot to take in, but Lara absorbed every word. "You'll need a story," Ryan concluded, "something to explain your presence here without causing a panic." "A story?" Lara repeated, the weight of her new reality settling on her shoulders. "Yeah," Ryan said, "and I'll help you with it. We'll figure this out together." That night, as Lara lay in bed beneath the alien stars, they no longer felt oppressive. Instead, they formed a canopy of new possibilities, and for the first time since her crash, she felt a flicker of hope stirring in the dark. In the following days, her routine became one of slow recovery and cultural exchange. As the days turned into weeks, Lara settled into a rhythm of recovery and adaptation. Ryan's modest house, though sparse, became her refuge. She spent her days learning about Earth and its customs, while Ryan showed her the essentials of daily life on his planet. The desert became less intimidating with each passing day. Lara's initial fears faded, replaced by a growing curiosity and a deepening sense of connection to this alien world. The endless sand, once an overwhelming expanse, now held secrets and wonders that Ryan helped her uncover. One morning, as the sun painted the desert in warm hues, Ryan and Lara took a walk through the nearby dunes. Lara's health had improved considerably, and she was eager to explore more of her surroundings. Ryan led the way, his steady stride a comforting presence. "Have you ever thought about what you'll do once you're fully recovered?" Ryan asked, glancing at Lara. Lara hesitated. "I haven't given it much thought. I suppose I'll need to find a way to contact my people or find a way back home." Ryan nodded. "You might be able to use the local communication networks. They're not as advanced as your technology, but they might help." Lara's eyes brightened with hope. "That would be incredible. Do you think you could help me with that?" "Of course," Ryan replied. "We can start looking into it this week." As they continued their walk, Ryan pointed out various features of the landscape. "This is a type of desert plant called a saguaro. It stores water in its stem and can survive for years in the harsh conditions here." Lara admired the plant, fascinated by its resilience. "It's amazing how life adapts to such extremes." Ryan smiled. "Just like you're adapting to Earth. You've come a long way from that crash." The conversation flowed easily, and Lara found herself enjoying Ryan's company more and more. Their discussions ranged from Earth's history to her own experiences and dreams. Each revelation brought them closer, and Lara's initial loneliness began to transform into a sense of belonging. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Ryan brought out a small, hand-carved box. "I thought you might like to see this," he said, opening the box to reveal a collection of old photographs. Lara picked up a photo of a young Ryan with his family, the image capturing a moment of happiness. "These are wonderful. Thank you for sharing them with me." Ryan's expression softened. "I wanted you to understand a little more about where I come from. It's important to me that you feel at home here." Lara smiled, touched by his gesture. "I do feel at home, more than I expected." Their evenings often turned into long conversations under the starlit sky, and as the weeks passed, Lara realized she was not just adapting to Earth but growing deeply fond of Ryan. His kindness and steadfastness had become a source of comfort and warmth. One night, as they walked back to the house after watching a meteor shower, Ryan stopped and turned to Lara. "You've been here for a while now, and I've noticed how much stronger and more confident you've become." Lara looked at him, her heart pounding. "I couldn't have done it without you, Ryan. Your support has meant everything to me." Ryan took her hand gently. "I'm glad I could be here for you. But I have to ask, what happens if you find a way back home?" Lara's eyes met his, and she felt a pang of uncertainty. "I don't know. I still want to return and fulfill my mission. But leaving now feels so different." Ryan squeezed her hand. "I understand. Just know that wherever you go, you'll always have a friend here. And maybe, if you ever need a reason to come back, you'll find it in what we've shared." Lara's heart ached at his words. She had come to cherish her time with Ryan, and the thought of leaving him behind was difficult to bear. "I'll keep that in mind," she said softly. The following days were a blend of hope and hesitation. Lara and Ryan worked together to explore ways to contact her people, while also enjoying the simple pleasures of life on Earth. They spent evenings by the desert's edge, sharing stories and laughter, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. One morning, as they worked on an improvised communication device, Ryan turned to Lara with a serious expression. "I've been thinking about something. If you're planning to leave soon, maybe we should make the most of the time we have left." Lara's heart skipped a beat. "What do you have in mind?" Ryan smiled. "How about a trip to the city? I want you to see more of what Earth has to offer before you make any final decisions." Lara's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That sounds amazing. I'd love to." As they prepared for their trip, Lara couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and sadness. She had come to cherish her time with Ryan and the connection they had formed. The city trip promised new experiences, but also the possibility of an impending farewell. The day of their journey arrived, and Ryan and Lara set off, leaving the familiar sands of the desert behind. The city was a vibrant contrast to the quiet desert, a bustling blend of cultures and technology. As they explored the city, Ryan showed Lara the highlights: historical landmarks, cultural hubs, and local markets. Lara marveled at the diversity and richness of Earth's urban life, feeling a renewed sense of wonder. The trip brought them even closer together, and as they returned to the desert, Lara knew that no matter what the future held, her time on Earth, and with Ryan, would remain a cherished memory. The uncertainty of her return was overshadowed by the warmth and connection she had found, and she couldn't help but hope that their bond might one day lead to something even deeper. That night, under the familiar desert sky, Lara lay in bed, the stars now a comforting canopy. For the first time since her crash, she felt a flicker of hope not just for her own future, but for the possibility of a shared journey with the human who had become so important to her. And as she drifted into sleep, she allowed herself to dream of what might come next, knowing that whatever the future held, she had found something truly extraordinary in the heart of Earth's desert. The city trip had reinvigorated Lara, sparking a renewed sense of wonder about Earth and its inhabitants. Yet, as the days passed, the reality of her predicament loomed over her. The makeshift communication device they'd been working on had yet to yield any substantial results, and her hope of reconnecting with her people seemed increasingly distant. One evening, as the desert sky darkened and the first stars began to twinkle, Lara and Ryan sat on the porch. The day had been particularly hot, but now a cool breeze was sweeping through the desert. "I'm sorry I haven't been able to get the communicator to work," Ryan said, his voice tinged with frustration. "I know how important it is to you." Lara shook her head, trying to reassure him. "It's not your fault. We've done everything we can. Maybe we just need to think of another approach." Ryan's eyes held a hint of concern. "I've been thinking about that. There might be a high-tech research facility in a nearby city that could have the resources we need. It's a long shot, but it might be worth a try." Lara's heart leapt at the possibility. "That sounds promising. When can we go?" "We could leave tomorrow morning," Ryan suggested. "It'll be a long drive, but it could be our best chance." The The prospect of a new opportunity reinvigorated Lara's spirits. I'm ready. Let's do it. The next morning, they packed essentials and set off in Ryan's rugged vehicle. The journey was long and dusty, but the anticipation kept them focused. They drove through the changing landscapes, from the arid expanses of the desert to the more temperate regions surrounding the city. By late afternoon, they arrived at the sprawling cityscape, its skyline a mix of sleek skyscrapers and historic buildings. The research facility Ryan had mentioned stood out prominently among the structures, a modern edifice of glass and steel. As they approached, Lara's excitement was palpable. The facility's reputation for cutting-edge technology and scientific advancement made it a beacon of hope. They entered the facility, where Ryan had arranged a meeting with a contact who might be able to help. Inside, the facility was a hive of activity, with scientists and engineers bustling about. Ryan introduced Lara to Dr. Elena Martin, a senior engineer with expertise in advanced communication systems. Dr. Martin listened intently as Ryan explained their situation. "This sounds like quite a challenge," Dr. Martin said, examining the makeshift device they had brought with them. "But we might be able to assist. We have some experimental technology that could potentially enhance your communication capabilities." Lara's heart skipped a beat. "Really? That would be incredible. I would be forever grateful." Dr. Martin nodded. "I can't guarantee success, but we can give it a try. Why don't you and Ryan come back tomorrow? We'll need some time to integrate your device with our systems." "Thank you so much," Lara said, her voice filled with relief. "We'll be here." Ryan and Lara spent the rest of the day exploring the city, taking in the sights and experiencing the vibrant culture. The city was a stark contrast to the quiet of the desert, with bustling markets, diverse cuisine, and lively street performances. Despite the distractions, Lara's thoughts were constantly on the following day's potential breakthrough. The next morning, they returned to the facility, where Dr. Martin greeted them with a cautious optimism. "We've integrated your device with our systems. We'll need to run some tests to ensure everything is functioning correctly." Hours passed as Lara and Ryan waited anxiously. The facility buzzed with activity, but the outcome of their efforts remained uncertain. Finally, Dr. Martin returned with a hopeful expression. "We've managed to amplify your signal," she said. "It's not perfect, but it should give you a better chance of reaching your people." Lara's eyes sparkled with hope. "Thank you, Dr. Martin. I'll give it a try." With trembling hands, Lara activated the device. The familiar static crackled, but this time, there was a clearer signal cutting through the noise. Her heart raced as she transmitted a message, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Lara here. This is a distress signal. Can anyone hear me? I am stranded on Earth and need assistance." She and Ryan waited in tense silence. Minutes felt like hours, and just as they were about to lose hope, a crackling voice came through the static. "Lara? This is Control. We've received your signal. Hold on. We're initiating a response." Lara's eyes filled with tears of relief. "Control, it's so good to hear your voice. I'm on Earth. I need help to return home." "Understood. We'll coordinate a response team and arrange for your retrieval," the voice assured her. "Stay where you are. We'll be in touch with further instructions." As the communication ended, Lara felt a mixture of joy and melancholy. The prospect of returning home was within reach, but it meant leaving behind the life and connections she had begun to cherish. Ryan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I'm glad you're able to contact your people, but I'm going to miss you." Lara looked at him, her heart heavy with the weight of impending goodbyes. "I'm going to miss you too, Ryan. You've been so kind and supportive. I can't thank you enough." They spent their final hours together reminiscing about their time spent on Earth, sharing stories, and cherishing the bond they had formed. As night fell over the city, they walked through the streets one last time, savoring the memories they had created. As the time for her departure drew near, Lara found herself standing at the edge of the desert, the place that had once felt so alien but had become a significant part of her journey. She looked back at Ryan, who stood beside her, a sense of profound connection between them. "Thank you for everything, Ryan," Lara said softly. Ryan smiled, though his eyes were filled with sadness. "You've been an extraordinary friend. I hope your journey home brings you the peace and safety you're seeking." With one last look at the desert and the city beyond, Lara prepared to board the craft that would take her back to the stars. The emotions were a whirlwind. Excitement, sadness, and gratitude all mingled together. As she ascended into the sky, Lara gazed down at the earth below. The memories of her time there etched into her heart. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she carried with her the warmth and connection she had found in the human who had shown her that even in the vastness of space, she was never truly alone. And as the earth became a distant speck, Lara felt a flicker of hope and a sense of completion, knowing that wherever her path led next, she had discovered something profoundly precious and enduring in the heart of a strange and beautiful world. Lara's return journey to her home planet was a blur of emotion. As her spacecraft cruised through the vastness of space, her thoughts were consumed by the memories of her time on Earth, particularly the moments shared with Ryan. The communication with her people had been brief but clear. A retrieval team was en route, and she was to follow their instructions for a rendezvous. The spacecraft, now significantly repaired and upgraded with the technology Ryan's contact had provided, moved smoothly through the cosmos. Lara looked out of the observation window, the endless stars a stark contrast to the warm, golden glow of Earth that was now a distant memory. Approaching destination, the ship's AI announced. Lara's heart quickened as she prepared for the arrival. The thrill of returning home mingled with a pang of sadness at leaving behind the life she had come to appreciate so deeply. As she neared her planet, the familiar sight of its blue and green surface brought a sense of relief. But the gravity of her return weighed heavily on her. What would her reception be like? Would they understand the transformation she had undergone during her time away? The retrieval team's craft docked seamlessly with hers, and as the hatch opened, Lara was greeted by a group of officials from her planet. They were a mix of solemnity and curiosity, their expressions reflecting a blend of relief and intrigue. "Lara, welcome back," said Admiral Corrin, the head of the retrieval team. "We've been eagerly awaiting your return. I trust you have valuable information to share?" Lara nodded, trying to maintain her composure. "Yes, Admiral. I've gathered crucial data about Earth and its inhabitants. But before we proceed, I need to explain something." As they made their way to the command center of her planet's space station, Lara began recounting her experiences, from the crash landing to her time with Ryan. The officials listened intently, their eyes widening at the descriptions of Earth's environment, technology, and, most importantly, the human she had grown so close to. When Lara spoke of Ryan, she felt a lump in her throat. "Ryan was my guide and friend. He helped me adapt to Earth and provided crucial assistance in contacting our people. His kindness and support were beyond anything I could have hoped for." The room fell silent, the officials processing the gravity of her words. Admiral Corrin finally spoke, his voice thoughtful. "It sounds like you've formed a deep connection with this human. Your experiences will undoubtedly influence our future interactions with Earth and its inhabitants." Lara nodded, her emotions swirling. "Yes, and I believe there's much we can learn from them. They are different from us, but their resilience and capacity for kindness are remarkable." The team began discussing the implications of Lara's findings and the potential for future diplomatic and exploratory missions to Earth. Lara's input was invaluable, but her thoughts often drifted back to Ryan and the life she had left behind. In the days that followed, Lara's return was marked by debriefings, reports, and preparations for future missions. Though she was back in the familiar surroundings of her home planet, her heart felt a tinge of emptiness. The connections she had formed with Earth, particularly with Ryan, had left an indelible mark on her. One evening, as Lara reviewed the final reports of her mission, she received a message from the space station's communication hub. It was a transmission from Ryan, sent through a relay system they had set up. "Lara," Ryan's voice came through the static, his tone warm and familiar. "I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to let you know that we've been thinking about you and your impact on our world. We've established a communication link with your planet and hope to continue our dialogue." Tears welled up in Lara's eyes as she listened to the message. "Ryan, it's good to hear from you. I miss you and the time we shared. Thank you for everything you did for me." "I miss you too," Ryan's voice continued. "Our time together was short, but it was meaningful. I hope that someday, our worlds can be united in ways we can only dream of now. As the transmission ended, Lara felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The connection she had with Ryan was a symbol of the possibilities that lay ahead, not just for her, but for the future of interplanetary relations. In the following months, Lara worked tirelessly to integrate her experiences into her planet's diplomatic and exploratory efforts. Her reports and insights led to the formation of new strategies for engaging with Earth and its people. The bonds she had forged and the lessons she had learned were instrumental in shaping the future of their interactions. Despite her busy schedule, Lara found solace in the knowledge that the connection with Ryan was not a fleeting memory but a foundation for potential future exchanges. The feelings she had developed were a testament to the impact that kindness and understanding could have, even across the vastness of space. As she looked out at the stars, Lara often thought of the desert and the human who had become an unexpected part of her journey. The stars now seemed less like distant points of light and more like beacons of hope, guiding her toward new horizons and possibilities. And though the path ahead was uncertain, Lara carried with her the hope that one day, the connection she had with Ryan might lead to a new chapter of exploration, discovery, and perhaps even a reunion with the human who had shown her that even in the boundless expanse of space, love and friendship could bridge the greatest distances.